I only married you because of your looks. I'm not interested in you now. After the pregnancy, you got ugly day by day. My loving husband cruelly told me when I came home after giving birth to the twins. All the things I had shared with them, all the memories we shared, all of it just crumbled away. He simply cut me off, as if I was no longer of any value to him. After the birth of my children, I was left with only one task: to be his housekeeper. My husband threatened me with the divorce if I refused. I was deeply disappointed in him. I've had enough of this. I will tell the truth to this selfish husband right here, right now. I wonder how he would react when he finds out everything. I smiled to myself quietly. My name is Lauren. I got married 6 years ago with my husband Brody. When we first got married, my father lent me a plot of land in his name. He also left me $50,000 to put a down payment on a house. He was so happy that I got married. We decided to use the money as a down payment and build a house on the land. We both had enough money saved up, and our monthly income was fine. We decided to build a custom-built house in my husband's name, not a house for sale. 6 years have passed since our marriage, and I am carrying 2 babies in my tummy. After 4 years of fertility treatment, we finally blessed with our children. We were told that both of them would be boys. As an only child, having a brother or sister was an unknown world to me. I am now in a stable period and a 6-month pregnant. At first, my husband and I had planned to get all the baby stuff together as soon as possible. But I'm not ready for that yet, because my husband says he is busy at work. He seemed to be working overtime almost every day. If I don't get the baby stuff within the next month, I wouldn't be ready until I go back to my hometown to have the babies. I knew I was running out of time, so I decided to ask my husband firmly. Recently, he comes home from work after 11 p.m. I usually go to bed before he does, but I rubbed my sleepy eyes and waited for him to come home. Finally, at 11:30 p.m., I heard the front door open. My husband appeared in the living room, and I immediately started talking to him. "Welcome home, Brody." "Hey, what is it?" "I'm tired." "We need to get all the baby stuff together soon. I don't have much time. I'm going home next month, remember?" "I'm busy. You can do it on your own." "What? We talked about going to the store together." "I said I'm busy. You're on maternity leave, and I'm struggling to make ends meet." "But I took maternity leave early, but it's not because I don't want to work. Since it will be twins, it is only natural to prepare carefully and early. Even my husband knows that I have to go back to my parents' house in a few weeks. I wonder if he can't even make time for just one day. I understand that he's busy, but when I think of our unborn children, I can't afford to be sloppy in my preparations. Normally, I would have given up, but on this day, I was different. Please, Brody, just one day." "I told you I'm busy." "Now, shut it." "Why? Why did you suddenly become so busy? You've been working overtime every day. You've even started working on weekends." "That's..." "What? Can you tell me the reason?" "You make it sound like it's my fault." "I didn't say that. I was just asking why you were so busy." "Shut up. I'm not going anyway. You know, there's the internet and everything." Then he pulled a couple of $100 bills out of his wallet and slammed them on the table. "Take that money and buy baby stuff." I was sad and angry at the same time by his heartless comment. If he can't do what I'm asking him to do, there's no point in talking to him anymore. I gave up going with him and asked my mother to accompany me shopping in my hometown. A month later, on the day of the trip, my husband was at work. When I first found out I was pregnant, whenever I visit my parents, he always drove me there. But this time, he said he couldn't because he was busy. I had no choice but to call my father to come and pick me up. In the car on the way to my parents' house, my father opened his mouth a little angrily. "Brody was going to give you a ride home, wasn't he?" I didn't know what to say. "I heard he's been busy with work lately." "Your mother told me you were going shopping for baby stuff with her, right? You were going to get it with Brody, weren't you?" "I told you he can't. He's busy." "Even if he's busy with work, he could at least go shopping, you know?" "I've asked him many times too, but he's just said he doesn't have time." "I see." My father still looked like he wanted to say something. I didn't want to talk about my husband anymore, so I turned my attention outside. I guess he knew how I felt. He drove me home without saying a word. A few months later, I gave birth to twins. I'd been in the care of my parents for 2 months. Today is the day I go back to my husband's after a long time. I can finally take my children and go back to my life with my husband. Normally, I would be happy to see him today, but my feelings were indescribable. There was a heaviness in my heart because my husband never once came to see me to my parents' house. Not only during my pregnancy, and even after our sons were born. Not even for a single day. I tried to contact him many times. His response was, "I'm busy. I don't have time to come over." I was beyond angry. Even my parents were furious. So my parents contacted Brody several times, but he never responded. In the car on the way home, my father became a little irritated and broached the subject. "If you go back to Brody and think it's impossible to live with him, you can call me anytime. I'll come and get you." "Thank you, Dad. I'm glad you said that." "You're the one who chose him, and I don't want to think he's too bad of a guy. But Brody's attitude is unforgivable. I'll have a little chat with him when we get home." "Okay, but I don't know if he'll be there." "I don't care. Let me wait with you until he gets home." "Thank you, Dad. I'd appreciate it." I'm sure Brody will change his attitude a little if he got a direct order from my dad. With this faint hope in my heart, I returned home with my father. I came home for the first time in months. When I inserted the key into the keyhole of the front door, then I felt a strange sensation. It wouldn't go all the way in. No matter how many times I tried, I couldn't get the key all the way in. Fortunately, the lights were on. I know that my husband is already home. So I pressed the intercom and hear a woman's voice. As I stood there, the front door opened. A strange woman came out of the door. She looks puzzled and called out to me. "Excuse me? Who are you?" This is my house." "What?" "My husband bought this house about 2 months ago." 2 months ago? I was shocked that I couldn't help but raise my voice. She reacted as if she had just thought of something. Ah, are you Brody's wife, by any chance? Yes. How do you know my husband? My husband bought this house from Brody, a senior colleague of his at work. What do you mean he bought it? We had a baby last year, and we didn't have time to move. We're thinking of building a house, and Brody gave us a reasonable price. We paid $50,000 in one lump sum, and the rest will be paid in installments. Well, of course you know that because you're his wife. I'm sorry. My father and I looked at each other. We knew it was more than just a coincidence. The couple, Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, were kind enough to let us have some time. I immediately called my husband and asked him to explain the situation. Hey, Brody, what the hell's going on? Oh, you're back. My husband sounded annoyed over the phone. You, housekeeper. Skipping chores, leaving the house for a long time. Cut the crap. Just explain to me why someone else is living in our house. Did you sell it? Are you crazy? What? It doesn't matter. The house is in my name. Huh? Where the hell are you, anyway? I'm staying at Hilton with my girlfriend. Girlfriend? Yeah. I just sent it to you. Look at the picture. Attached to the message on my phone was a picture of my husband cuddling with a young woman. For all intents and purposes, they are as close as lovers can get. I still can't wrap my head around this situation, and he confronts me with an unforgiving reality. Look, I only married you because of your looks. I'm not interested in you now. After the pregnancy, you got ugly day by day. What? Are you serious? Yeah. That's why I started having a relationship with her. You started getting fat and bloated. Anyway, I'm going to live with her. And you are going to be my housekeeper from this day forward. Housekeeper? Are you kidding me? I'll send you my address. Come here quickly. He hung up the phone and sent me the address of the hotel. You've got to be kidding me. At the moment, I felt an inexpressible anger flare up like a flame. My father's face, who was listening to the whole thing, was burning too. I could see his body trembling with anger. Mrs. Patterson looks at us with a curious gaze. I called out to her to tell them the truth. Excuse me, is your husband here? Yes, he is. I'd like to talk to him. Could you go get him? Okay, one moment please. After that, I showed him the photos my husband had sent me and explained the situation. Apparently, my husband's affair partner was a colleague at the same company. Mr. Patterson was deeply surprised. When he was furious and said he could not forgive my husband, his wife was the same. As a parent with a child, they can't forgive what my husband did, they said. When I was about to contact my husband again, he called me just in time. I took a deep breath and pressed the answer button. What? He yelled through the phone. Hey, you're gonna keep me waiting forever. Get your ass over here and cook us dinner. I tell him calmly. I'm not going to be your housekeeper. What? I'm offering you a job here. To be my housekeeper. If you don't like it, I'll divorce you. You don't know anything. What? What do you mean? What do I know? The Pattersons are suing you. What? As soon as he heard the word sue, my husband turned weak. He sounded anxious, and I told him the truth.
Suing? Why?
Because you deceived them.
What are you talking about? I didn't deceive them.
I just sold them a house in my name at a discount.
Yeah?
You sold the house? But what about the land?
What? No way.
The land. Remember? This land doesn't belong to you. It's in my father's name. The only reason we haven't had to pay for the land so far is that my father owns it. So if you and the Patterson's family want to live here, you'll have to pay for the land every month. Did you explain that to them? My husband's voice is inarticulate as I explain the situation. Perhaps he's not quite grasping the situation, so I carefully break down what I had told him so that even he could understand. My father said he will charge you for the land if someone else lives in the house. But the Pattersons never heard that from you. They said that when they bought the house, the land was never mentioned.
Well, that's...
There's only one solution here. Either you buy the land from them, or you can pay for the land. By the way, they said they would sue you if you don't pay for the land. For fraud. You know,
fraud? No, wait a minute. I don't have that kind of money.
You got your $50,000. They'll pay for a while.
I can't afford it. I've already spent all the money on the hotel and vacationed with my girlfriend. Please, Lauren, do something. Ask your father to give the land to the Pattersons for free.
Even after all this, he's still trying to get by, taking no responsibility. He's still trying to use me to save his ass. I'm so disgusted with him that I can't speak. As I fell silent, my husband continued to plead with me.
Hey, are you listening to me, Lauren? I'll leave her. I'll help you raise the kids. So please, ask your father to do something about it. Look, your husband's asking for help. Do something.
If he had come to see me and the twins just once, it might have changed the outcome. But instead of coming to see me, he sold the house on his own. He used the money to stay at a luxury hotel with the woman he cheated on me with. And he treated me like a housekeeper after the babies were born. I have no sympathy for such a person. I fought back in anger that was rising in me and vented my resentment. You son of a bitch. You want my help? Who the hell do you think you are? Do you have any idea what an asshole you've been to me? I've suffered so much because of you. And you think one flimsy apology will get you forgiveness?
Lauren, wait, calm down.
How can I calm down under such circumstances? You cheat on your wife and sell the house without asking. And to top it all off, you want me to be your housekeeper? You've got to be kidding me. I'm not stupid to let you take advantage of me. I don't need another piece of shit like you. I don't want you in my life anymore. So, get out of my sight. I ended the call and immediately blocked my husband's contact information. All that remained was to divorce this scumbag of a husband. After that, Brody apologized to the Patterson. But they are on my side. They said they would sue him if he didn't pay for the land. Finally, Brody brought the land from my father, and the problem was solved. I hired a lawyer to file a claim against Brody and his partner for the alimony. In addition, I demanded child support from him. He had to move out of the Hilton, of course. He and his mistress seemed to broke up. Mr. Patterson made my husband's affair known to the company. The mistress resigned because she couldn't take it anymore. Brody became distant from everyone around him and completely isolated. However, he had accumulated a lot of payments, so he cannot quit the company. For some time to come, almost all of his income will be used to pay his bills. He will not be able to live a life of freedom for some time to come. I, on the other hand, went back to my parents' house right after that. I explained the situation to the company, and they made me work remotely, so I was able to return to work without incident. There will be times in the future when my children will be inconvenienced by their father's absence. Even so, I want to raise them with a lot of love and care. Hospital? Don't be ridiculous. Get your ass out of the hospital, even if you have to crawl back home. You're the housekeeper. My husband suddenly yelled at me on the phone. I was hospitalized with a high fever. For my husband Louis, no matter what the reason, the mere fact that he doesn't have a wife to do the housework is cause for anger. I usually do all the housework, but still, all he does is complain. And then when I get sick, instead of worrying about me, he gets upset. How narrow-minded is the man I married? I was deeply disappointed in myself for having chosen such a man as my husband. But it seems I was not the only one who thought so. When my mother-in-law heard my husband yelling, she said to me with a straight face, "Your nightmare ends here. Now, let's start fighting back." My name is Violet, a 35-year-old mom with a 1-year-old son. I work as a medical secretary at a hospital. My husband's name is Louis. I met him on blind date. My co-worker invited me to. We started dating right after. A few months after we got married, I got pregnant and I had a son, Eli. My life is pretty good, but recently, I'm having a major problem within the family. That is my relationship with my husband, Louis. He has been a dependable and sweet guy, and even after Eli was born, he was very supportive in raising our child, feeding him milk, changing his diapers and such. However, raising a child requires money. We have to work hard and save money for our son. But my husband doesn't like the idea of me going back to work. When I told him I wanted to leave Eli at daycare, he gave me a disapproving look. What? Daycare? He just turned 1. But I'm thinking about the future, and I think I should work too. I want him to be able to do all the things he wants to do. I don't care about that. If he can finish high school and college, that will be enough. What? Even so, I think it's better to be prepared for all kinds of situations. If that's the case, let him give up. It's his fault. He's not smart enough. You are a housewife. You should just take care of the house. But, oh no. My husband yelled at me and showed his anger. I wanted to give my child the best environment possible. Was I the only one who thought that way? However, my husband is an ordinary businessman. He doesn't get paid well. Since I retired after giving birth to my son, we can no longer afford to save. After 6 months of talking about these circumstances over and over again, I succeeded in convincing my husband. I was able to return to work full-time. But the real hell started from there. After I started working, my husband's behavior changed drastically. Whenever I prepared a meal, he would sarcastically tell me that the food was too strong tasting, too bad to eat, and so on. Not even a winkle in the laundry was tolerated. If there is even a speck of dust or hair on the floor, he's in a bad mood for a few days. The only thing that saved me was that he was a good father to my son. He would play with Eli or even bathe him when he came home from work. But no matter how good his mood is, his attitude towards me never changes. And this happened the other day. I was working overtime and got home a little late. I picked up my son from daycare and rushed home. My husband was waiting for me with a devilish look on his face. "I'm home. Sorry, I'm late." "Sorry? Is that all you can say to me?" My husband was super angry at the door. "Why do you come home later than me?" I said I'm sorry. I had a lot to do at work. "Don't make excuses. Why are you so bad at everything? You should have stayed home and focused on the housework." "But the household situation is getting better because we both work, right?" "Don't talk back. You do as I say." "Hey, lower your voice. Eli can hear you yelling." Even though he's still one, I didn't want him to see his father yelling. But ever since that day, my husband's been yelling at me in front of him. Every time he came home from work, if he didn't like something, he would throw things and takes his anger out on me. He is away from home on his day off, so that was the only time I could spend with my son in peace. My son can't speak or understand the situation yet. I didn't want him to hear our arguments. Then one day, I woke up in the middle of the night, and my husband was not there. He went to bed before me last night. Did he go to the bathroom or something? I went back to bed and waited for a while, but there was no sign of my husband coming back into the room. I was worried, so I got out of the bed and went to the living room. The living room lights was on, and I found my husband sitting on the sofa. He was on the phone with someone. He had his back on me, so he wasn't aware that I was there. I was about to open the living room door. "You know what? I can't wait to get divorced." "Divorce?" That's what he said. I took a breath and decided to wait and see. "My wife? She's sleeping. She doesn't work that hard, but she sleeps a lot. She's not good at housework either. I don't know why I married such a loser. I can't wait to get divorced and be with you." A lot of heartless, horrible words stopped my heart. When I realized, tears were falling from my eyes. He keeps dissing me like that. Is he cheating on me? Divorce me. What about Eli? I went back into the bedroom without saying a word to my husband. I put a blanket over my head and fell asleep again. The next day was a weekend, so my husband went out in the morning. Now that I think about it, maybe he had been going out on weekends because he was meeting someone he was having an affair with. I'm not talking about weekends only. Overtime work and drinking sessions. I wonder if he was just making up excuses for everything and making time for his lover. The more I think about it, the more I think it was true. What if he really was cheating on me? What will happen to Eli? Suddenly, I was overcome with anxiety, and just like last night, I began to cry involuntarily. That's when it happened. The intercom rang, and I came to my senses. I opened the front door to find my mother-in-law standing there with a gentle smile on her face. "Long time no see, Violet. I missed you." "Oh, hi. Good to see you. But what's up? You used to come over to our house. But you got busy with your job, didn't you? And I wanted to see baby Eli. So, I came to visit. I see. Thank you. I'm sorry it's been a while. It's okay. Raising a child while working full-time must be hard. You're a great mom, Violet. My mother-in-law's words of encouragement brought tears back to my eyes. Then she, perhaps hearing the sound of me sniffing, talking to me in a concerned tone. What's wrong, Violet? Something happened? No, I'm fine. You're not fine? Tell me what's wrong. All right, I'll make you some tea first. Here, I brought some cake. Let's eat it together. My mother-in-law stood in the kitchen for me and makes some tea. She puts the cake on the plate and offered it to me quietly. Something must have happened, right? Violet, is it about Louis? Well, I knew something must have happened since you didn't come to our house lately. Violet, you can tell me anything. My mother-in-law gently held my hand and looked straight at me. I didn't want to tell her about her son's infidelity, but I was already at my limit. Actually, I think Louis is having an affair. An affair? Is he cheating on you? Yes, probably. I heard them talking on the phone last night. He said he wanted to divorce me. What? I'm gonna talk to him right now. Where is he? I don't know. And even if I question him now, I don't have any proof. Proof? Yeah, I just found out yesterday. So I don't have any proof. When I look at the sofa, my son was sleeping peacefully. I didn't want him to hear about the divorce, even if he didn't know what it meant. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, had been giving me a difficult look. Then she looked up, as if she had just thought of something. All right, Violet. All you have to do is gather evidence. What? Gather evidence? But I've got work to do. And Eli's with me. I don't have time. That's okay. We'll leave it to the professionals. Professionals? Yes. I have a friend who got divorced because her husband cheated on her. She said she hired a PI. So, I'll ask her for more details. Really? That'll be great. My mother-in-law encouraged me to do so. And a few days later, I decided to request a background check on my husband from the agency she told me about. I asked my mother-in-law to keep this matter quiet until I got the detailed results. A week later, I went to the detective agency to pick up the result. The result was, of course, exactly what I predicted. Shortly after confirming my husband's infidelity, I collapsed at work. My colleague took me to the hospital, where I found that my fever was over 104. I've been feeling lightheaded for a while now, but I had no idea it was this bad. I called my mother-in-law. She said she would pick up my son from daycare and take care of him at her house. After that, she showed up in the hospital room. Violet, are you alright? I heard you have a high fever. I'm sorry to bother you. I'm okay. Oh my gosh, you must have been exhausted. You need a rest now. As my mother-in-law was laying me down, my phone buzzed in my bag. I asked my mother-in-law to pick up the phone. It was from my husband. When the call came in again, I picked it up and turned on the speaker. The sound of my husband's yelling echoed through the room. In contrast to my shaking shoulders, my mother-in-law's face was stained with anger. I had to show my mother-in-law what my husband was really like. I continued my conversation with him. I'm sorry, I'm in the hospital.
What? Why? What about the housework? Why the hell are you in the hospital anyway?
Actually, my fever is over 104, and I have to stay in the hospital for the night. So,
don't be ridiculous. Staying at the hospital for a fever? Are you kidding me?
But the doctor told me to rest today.
Shut up. Go get your ass out of the hospital, even if you have to crawl back home. You're the housekeeper.
He said that and hung up the phone. At the moment, I felt that my feelings for my husband had completely gone. I have no more feelings for him. I didn't need to worry about divorce after he'd said all the things he wanted to say to me. My mother-in-law seemed to have understood my decision. She looked at me and gave a small sigh.
What a scumbag. I'm ashamed he's my son.
I'm sorry things turned out this way.
No, you don't need to apologize. I'm glad I learned about my son's true nature. Now, I can join you in your revenge without hesitation.
Oh, really?
Yes. Your nightmare ends here. Come on, Violet. Now, let's start fighting back.
My mother-in-law handed me with divorce papers. She must have gotten it on the way to the hospital. I signed it right there and prepared for the divorce. My mother-in-law agreed to stay with me at the hospital that day. I decided to rest for the time being. My husband kept calling me, but my mother-in-law told me to ignore him. The next day, my fever went down, and I was able to leave the hospital. I went to my in-laws' house where my son was waiting. My mother-in-law had already told my father-in-law what had happened. We all called my husband that night. A few hours later, just as I was putting my son to bed, my husband arrived at my in-laws' house. My parents-in-law and my husband are sitting across from each other.
Mom, Dad, what's going on?
My husband played the gentle son as usual. When I showed up, he frowned for a moment, but his smile returned immediately.
Hey, Violet.
I'm sorry I couldn't come get you in the hospital.
I've been busy with work, you know.
I sarcastically replied to him.
Work? You were having an affair, weren't you?
What? What are you talking about?
I would never do such a thing. Don't be silly. In front of my parents.
Do you really think the excuse will work now?
What's the matter, Violet? Are you mad at me?
I know you were having an affair. Here's the proof. I took the photos I got from the agency and laid them out in front of my husband. As soon as he saw them, his smile instantly disappeared.
What the hell is all this stuff doing here?
I hired a detective agency to look into it, and they found all of this evidence.
No. This is just for fun. I mean, it's not serious. Trust me.
For fun?
Yeah, it was just a fling, you know? Even my dad cheated on my mom once or twice. Right, Dad? It's normal for a man.
My husband tried desperately to get his in-laws to agree, but all they would give him were icy stares. His face gradually turned pale and his voice began to tremble.
Violet, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I cheated on you. But I was lonely, and you were always talking about Eli.
What are you apologizing for? Do you think I'm mad at you for cheating on me?
You're not?
I'm sick and tired of everything about him. He's got his weird smile on his face, and he's reaching for my hand. I shook his hand off as hard as I could and said to him, "I don't give a damn about your affair." What hurt me the most was the abuse I received on a daily basis. You treat me like I'm your housekeeper. I don't need an apology for cheating. I don't care. I just wanted a normal family. I guess you don't even know what that means.
Hey, Violet, calm down.
Huh? Calm down? What the hell you can say to me to calm down? Whose fault is it that we are in this mess? It's all your fault. Your parents know all about what you've done to me. All of us here will never forgive you, no matter what. And I will do whatever it takes to push you over the edge. My husband fell to his knees, clutching his head and screaming in agony. I confronted him with the divorce papers and demanded his signature. He quietly fell to signing the papers, as his parents were there. After that, my son and I decided to stay with my in-laws until we found a new place. In between visits to the lawyer's office, I demanded the lump sum of alimony from him and his partner. Eventually, I rented an apartment near my work and moved in with my son. I still keep in touch with my in-laws and have dinner with them regularly. I don't think I will ever see my ex-husband again. But my son has his grandparents. They seem to feel the same way and are very protective of my son. I would like to continue to have a good relationship with my in-laws.